Years ago, my son got involved in trading stocks. He did pretty good, and it caught my attention. He turned a few dollars he had saved into enough to buy a complete desktop PC, along with all the bells and whistles that go along with it. I became interested to see his process, so he explained to me what he did, how he did it, and why it works. At the time it seemed logical to try, but we didn't have enough extra funds at that time to really get involved in it. Some time went by and we ended up selling our house and moving across state. After not being able to find a reasonable job in our new town, it dawned on me that we could try to be traders now. After some trial and error, we settled upon a few sites. One, we could day trade, one was more designed for longer-term investments, and one was specifically for cryptocurrency, which is my son's thing. So here we have accounts across a few platforms. The only problem was we were as green gets, and in the beginning, we lost a lot more than we made, so it was time for us to get serious, if we wanted to go any further. We took what we had learned, and we started to integrate new ideas and trading scenarios to make us better at it, by minimizing our risk and increasing our profit potential. We slowly but surely started to get better at it. We kept what worked and got rid of what didn't. We studied new trading strategies, and again applied what worked and dropped what didn't. Sure enough, the more we developed what worked for us, and what didn't, we finally started to see continued gains. We were actually making a profit now. What started as a guess, through study and education, we have developed a system for ourselves that we can rely on to make us a relative steady income. Our society works in much the same way. Everywhere we look, there are percentages. We find credit cards with the lowest percentage put towards the interest of our accounts. We are constantly looking for the best percentage rates. We have been so saturated with risk-reward, percentage points, rates for this or that, so many probability scenarios, it makes one wish they would have paid better attention in math class back in the day. How to manage our risk in this world has become center stage in our psyche. Just like my trading experiences, we have all found out what works for us and what doesn't, and accepted that as how we live our lives. There is absolutely no shame in this. We all want to be comfortable with as little stress as possible. We've found out what works and what doesn't and ran with it. Most of us have been around long enough to have dealt with the constant fluctuation of this world. One day it's this, the next it's that. Watching the news, there's a certain percentage it will or will not rain. Playing the lottery, we have one in a however many chance to win. This is the world we live in. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We have all become so accustomed to guesswork. We have learned how to weigh the odds in whatever circumstance we may find ourselves in and go the route of less risk. This is only natural and logical, which most of us are, but there's still always risk involved even if we're choosing the less risky route. Our God doesn't work in guesswork, He works in absolutes. God never says this may or may not happen, He says this will or will not happen. This is some of the disconnect we have with our Creator. We have become so enveloped in this world and its workings we forget or never learned who our Creator is and what He's about. This is something we all must contend with. Do we want to be reconciled to our Creator? Or are we content with living the life we have created through our guesswork? The choice is and always has been ours to make. Learning a new way to living life is hard, especially one that we have no clue about, and goes totally against what we have learned for ourselves. We've been here on this earth for however long we've been here, and we've developed our own defense mechanisms as to what we will and won't let in our lives. It's only natural. If something hurts or causes us pain, none of us are running to the front of the line to do it again. The Bible tells us what has happened, what is happening, and what is going to happen. There is no guesswork in what God has said. It either will or it won't, not maybe. This is where our confusion begins. We don't accept God for who He is. Sorry to be blunt, but it's true. We mix our maybe with His absolutely, and go as far as we can until it gets uncomfortable and confusing. This must stop in our respective lives. When we first start out with God, it's understandable to be confused and somewhat scared. Yet the further we progress in this life together, us and our Creator, the more lessons we learn, And the easier life gets, because we are beginning to grasp the concept of God as God, and He most certainly is in control of His creation. This is where it begins and ends with us. Do we agree with God when He says He's the ultimate power in our universe, and we are His creation? We may agree, or we may not, but it's a choice we will all be faced with, sometime during our lives. After our choice is made, we will either be enrolled in the school of God, or we will continue in this life we have made for ourselves, and stay on the throne of our own lives, managing them as we see fit. For those of us who have chosen God, and have given Him His due respect as Lord, and ruler above all we know, including ourselves, this is where the real work begins. The minute we accepted Jesus, we accepted Him for everything He is, and what He is to us is everything we need. Jesus is our teacher, our friend, our brother, our guide. I could go on, but Jesus is now everything that matters to us, and should become the focus of our lives. This again, is where absolutes come into play, and we must learn the difference. I have accepted Jesus to be my teacher, and the more we learn from Jesus, the more we can see how He teaches. All of Jesus' parables we read in the Bible are related to what we relate to. He uses everyday language that we understand, in everyday scenarios that we have experienced. He will teach us the exact same way, through our experiences that we can relate to, but we must be open to the process of the teaching that is coming our way. I will use some of my experiences to demonstrate the point I'm trying to make. I have been walking with Jesus my whole life, mostly doing my own thing. Yet when it finally dawned on me to get open and honest about following Jesus, and not justifying leading my own life into following Jesus, my life took a dramatic turn. Like I said, I had been walking with Jesus for some time, and I have learned to know when I am being spoken to through my spirit. So in the space of a few weeks, I was told to quit my job, donate all my savings to a ministry I trusted, and await further instructions. So that's exactly what I did, only the further instructions has yet to come. I spent almost a year trying to again manage my own life, thinking I was doing God's will. The only thing this time around is everything I tried to accomplish to provide for myself wouldn't work. And I mean nothing worked. I tried this and I tried that, and the only thing that worked for me was finding more ways that wouldn't work. I eventually realized that I was being led to sell our house and move to where God directed us. So again, that's what I did. The whole time I was confusing my leading with Jesus' teaching, until I finally came to my senses and allowed Jesus 100% of me. Not a percentage of me, but all of me. This is the first and most important lessons I had to learn, and it took me over 40 years to learn it, so there's hope for us all. All through the Bible, everything God says is in absolutes, and that includes us and our relationship with each other. It's all or nothing with our Creator. Either we do or we don't. We can all thank our God that He is patient as He teaches us what we need to learn. But this must be the first lesson with all of us. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3 verses 5-6. But if from there you seek the Lord your God, you will find Him if you seek Him with all your heart, and with all your soul. Deuteronomy 4 verses 29-31. Our superficial relationship with our God must be examined and tested for its authenticity. Are we truly following Jesus? Or are we going as far as we can tolerate and pulling back? Only ourselves can answer that question, and if we are wise, then we should examine ourselves on a regular basis to make sure we're staying faithful to the process. I listened as good as one could for the first few weeks of my instructions. Then as soon as I had done what I was told to do, I fell right back into trying to manage my own life and forgot all about following Jesus. I could have saved myself a year of frustration if I had just stayed patient and waited on Jesus' next command. What I learned from that experience is that following Jesus is not something that can be turned on and off. We either do or we don't. This is where many of us will find ourselves. We have given Jesus as much reign in our lives as we find tolerable, then pump the brakes. You can bring me this far, but I'll take it from here. We have done the research in our lives and found out what we will accept as risk, and where we will draw the line. We are only deceiving ourselves, and we must start to open our hearts and minds to the truth of our situation. We are the children of God, and we need His guidance. We all have God's love, that's universal to one and all, but to accept the complete package of what God is offering is quite a different story altogether. This is where we need to learn the difference between maybe and absolutely. God expects absolutely, but what we are giving is maybe. We can't be blamed for doing what we know, and what we know is studying the risk-reward of anything and everything that pertains to our lives. If it's harmful to us, then we associate that with a risk not worth taking. We tend to take the easiest path with the most reward, and with the less risk of lose or getting hurt. We know what will happen if we don't pay our bills. We know what will happen if we don't have food to eat. We know what will happen if we don't have a job. On the other side of that same coin, we can be blamed if we don't allow ourselves to be taught something new and stay faithful to our limited intellect. If we aren't growing, then we will become stagnant, stale, and eventually die. Jesus is offering us true life, but it must be learned. We don't know how to live life with our Creator. We don't know how to have all our needs met without us providing for ourselves. We don't know how to accept unconditional love. There is so much more that we don't know than what we do know, and we can't mix God's absolutely with our maybe, yet that's exactly what we try to do. I beg anyone who reads this to examine yourself. What percentage are you truly giving Jesus? Does He get your attention one day a week, just so we can feel good about ourselves? Does He get all your attention, and you will not move until told to? What is your percentage? God expects absolute, not maybe or some of the time. All or nothing. We are all on the spectrum of 0 to 100%. The trick is to realize where we're at and what needs to be done to increase our faithfulness. I don't know, you don't know, but God does. It becomes our job to stay faithful to whatever lesson Jesus is taking us through and agree more and more with God's absolute as we move past our maybe. God didn't make His promises for our entertainment. He made them to prove to us His commitment to us as we learn how to commit to Him. The more we move towards God's absolutely and away from our maybe, we will see life for what it is. We are God's creation, created for whatever purpose God has created us for. God has given us so much power in our complete being, yet we have no idea how to properly use it until we are shown and taught. When we truly admit to ourselves that God is right, and we agree with everything He says about everything He has said, then we can truly begin our education. We are learning how to live with God, or we are learning how to live without Him, and I guarantee we are all on one of those paths. It's not too late to make a course correction if one is needed, but only us can answer that for ourselves. Get honest with yourself. There's no shame in being wrong or misled. The shame comes from not being open to learning another way and staying content in living in our ignorance. Trade your maybe for God's absolutely and learn the difference between the two as Jesus takes us from one lesson to the next, all the way from now until we join Him in eternity. Be blessed in your understanding. May God richly bless you in yours.